بسم الله الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه يا رب لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. الحمد لله الواحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد عبدك ونبيك ورسولك نبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم أخلصنا نيتنا والأعمالنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علوم لا ينفع ومن قلوب لا يخشى ومن نفوس لا تشفى ومن عيون لا تدمع ومن دعاء لا يستجيب لها. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My dear beloved elders, murabbis, my brothers, nephews, and every brother who is here, I begin with the greetings of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing us with guidance. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadi lawla an hadana Allah ta'ala. In summary, we praise Allah for guiding us. Had Allah not guided us, we would be astray. We would be like the many millions on earth who are eating, drinking, sleeping, being born and dying and leaving this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored me and honored you by being blessed to be born in the house of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And that's a great honor. This is an honor and a privilege that you and I cannot buy. If everything on earth was at your possession and you wanted to pay for guidance, you would not be able to gain that with everything on earth. For guidance is something that is connected to a place and space beyond this temporary reality. And that is with the Lord of the worlds, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Allah in a manner that befits His Majesty subhanahu wa ta'ala. We try to praise Him in that manner, yet we fail, beginning with myself. We try to send peace and blessings upon the final messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And we send peace and blessings upon those who became His companions and their companions, and those great men and women that have come before us, and perhaps a few that are with us, excluding myself, and those who will come, inshallah, beyond us from our families and our communities, if we strive hard enough to achieve that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our time here for His sake. For if our time here is for anything other than for the sake of Allah, then it is a great loss for me and for you. Now I praise Allah and thank Him for giving me the ability to join you here, to sit with you, to benefit first and foremost to myself, and then hopefully perhaps yourselves. And a reminder is a very important aspect of being a Muslim, that we remind one another. فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَةَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind, for reminder benefits the believers. If you want to benefit from being reminded, then surely you will. It is the opportunity that we have. So far in the last 2 sessions, we have been talking about a subject that is an essential part of who we are. Without that realization of this subject and how it relates to our lives, everything that we do and we claim that is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be of no benefit. I want to read to you one verse of the Quran, and I will connect our discussion for today on that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ash-Shu'ara, Surah 26, He subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ صَدَقَ اللَّهُ الْمَوْلَانَ الْعَظِيمُ. That day when there will not be of no benefit, or rather the day when there will be not benefit from your wealth or your children except the one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. Now the subject that we've been talking about is the purification of the soul. We began with the idea that ikhlas and how ikhlas is so important to everything we do. One of the brothers was saying that Iman is the base. And I said, Alhamdulillah, everybody sitting here and those who are sitting on that day or that week, if you like, we all believe that our brothers have some level and degree of Iman. What we are really trying to talk about is how to raise that, the strength and the quality of that Iman, beginning with myself before any of you. And we began by talking about the importance of ikhlas. That Allah tells us that He did not command us except to worship Him with ikhlas in our deen. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. And 1 second or a millisecond of ikhlas is better than what this word holds. For ikhlas is a treasure that is very difficult to maintain. You could find it, but to maintain it is an extreme challenge. When we talked about the concept of istiqamah, then when we went to the concept of intention and how intention is the pinnacle of all action. We prayed now, I prayed, you prayed, together we prayed in Jama'ah. Who, what, and why have we done this is the question. I may have prayed for a different reason than you. All of us together have prayed because Allah has made it fard on us. That's a basic line. But that fard that I have just done, how much was it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Allah in my head and in my heart, is a question that is to be asked by me and then yourselves. The fact that I sit here and share with you all of this does not make me better than any of you. In fact, I probably am the worst amongst you, and only Allah knows. How great or how good I am, only Allah knows. You may think that I am great and good, but I may be a munafiq in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My tongue may be telling you all of this and I don't do any of it. So my situation is known by me and most importantly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't think that I'm sitting here because I claim righteousness and I claim piety. I hope that this is an opportunity for me and you to learn together to raise ourselves in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The subject of purification of the soul. We talked about intention. That every action is based on what you intend. Your salah, why did you do it? Your zakah, why are you giving it? Your kalima, your good words, what is it for? Your hajj, who was it for? All of those things, from the outside it could all look like it's for Allah. But in the inside, you know and Allah knows what it was for. And we said that what we will do is, as we discuss these topics, we will come towards the most important part of our being. It's our heart. And we said that we're going to do some heart surgery today. Not because I claim to be the best surgeon. By miles, I'm probably the worst of surgeons on this subject. Now the heart, just like as human beings, as creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need food to survive. Food and water is essential to fill our stomachs so that we can physically move around. Even to pray, we need that energy to a level. Now food and water is the food of the stomach. But there is a greater thing that we have, that we carry. That's our heart, our soul, if you like. What kind of a food does that need? That's the real food that we need to look into, that we need to understand, we need to internalize. We need that to be so much inside that it always pushes the outside. That all the great things in my heart is what determines what I am like on the outside. And we said about the Prophet ﷺ that the Prophet ﷺ was nothing except outer manifestation of inner purity. And when you saw the Prophet ﷺ, when the Sahaba saw the Prophet ﷺ, they could see nothing except that this was a pure man ﷺ. Look how pure he is ﷺ. When does he become a prophet? At what age? What was the age when the Prophet became a prophet, brothers?
40.
Sorry?
40.
At the age of 40. Now you look at the environment where he was living. In that environment, people were idol worshipping. People were burying their daughters alive. People were fighting wars because their dada and grandfather started and they're just continuing. Sometimes they don't even know, but they've inherited the fight and they continue. In that time, what was the Prophet ﷺ, what two qualities was he known for? What was his name? What was the name given to the Prophet ﷺ by the non-Muslims before Islam? As-Sadiq al-Amin. As-Sadiq al-Amin. The truthful and trustworthy. Now, did he get those qualities after becoming a prophet or before being a prophet? Before, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you know, when we talk about da'wah, our da'wah doesn't have to wait till we become Muslim. In some sense, our human da'wah needs to begin much earlier. Look at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was not a man or a woman in the Arabian Peninsula who could describe him other than as-Sadiq al-Amin. That they would be willing to leave everything with him and no one else, even though they did not necessarily accept the belief he came with later on. Why? Because he was truthful and trustworthy, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is before becoming a Rasul, becoming a Nabi. These are two human qualities he already had. We can say that it began from maybe the age of 10 up to the age of 40. 30 years of his life, people knew him as nothing except as-Sadiq and al-Amin, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you imagine the impact that this man would later have on people? They are already acknowledging him even before him becoming a messenger and sharing that message, that this man is as-Sadiq and he's al-Amin. Already. So imagine those who came to accept that message later on. Why would they not become Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and Aisha and Khadija? Why would they not become those people? Because they were getting it from the best teacher, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were getting the teaching even before he became a teacher, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we talk about da'wah, when we talk about sharing our truth, that truth needs to begin even before we have done a da'wah course, because our lives, Yahya's life, Yahya's words, Yahya's action needs to be of sidq and of aman. That people should be able to know that this is a truthful person. And people should be able to say Yahya is a trustworthy person. You know, my neighbor goes on holiday for 2 weeks. They're more than happy to leave their house keys with me because they have some goldfish in their house and that needs feeding once a day. Twice a day. Why? Because they have no other understanding of me except that this man is truthful and trustworthy. That's the challenge for myself and for you. How truthful does my neighbor see me, and how trustworthy does my neighbor see me? If we can be seen as truthful and trustworthy by our neighbors, non-Muslims, then inshallah we're walking towards a path that will be blessed and enlightened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this, I'm just saying, this is a quality that the Prophet ﷺ had before revelation came to him, before he became a Nabi or a Rasul, before those 114 chapters of the Quran were even sent to him ﷺ. So this is a big message for us. Sometimes we think to share Islam and to share da'wah, to share goodness, we have to become this and become that. No. You need to be, and I need to be, human first. And some of the mightiest qualities of a human being is to be truthful and to be trustworthy. These are two qualities that every part of this world understands. There is not a civilization from the time of Adam alayhi salam until Qiyamah that do not understand what the concept of being truthful and trustworthy. These are human universal qualities. And our Prophet ﷺ exemplified them before becoming a prophet. Imagine how it was when he became a prophet ﷺ. And we are a testament to that teaching. And we hope that our words and our deeds will be accepted in that manner. Coming back to the Prophet ﷺ and the heart of the Prophet ﷺ, and we said that his actions outside was nothing but what it was inside, purity. Now, heart and our hearts, we all are familiar with heart surgery. You know, bypass operations. Within our community, we're having a lot of bypass operations because our arteries have been clogged up. You know, there's too much fat that has grown there. The blood cannot flow in and out to be able to, for you to be able to move and be normal. Okay? Due to our diet, lack of exercise, unhealthy lifestyle, all of those are factors. All of those are factors. And we are desperate to make sure that our physical heart is preserved, is saved, is healthy, it works. And we would do anything to ensure that our father lives maybe another year longer with the biggest operation. We would pay whatever to make sure that his heart or our mother's heart is working. And Allah reward all of us for that. Because this is what Allah wants us to do within our ability. Whatever we can to help someone live. When we save a life, as if we are saving the whole of humanity. Now this heart that we are so concerned about, and Allah is saying that on that day, no wealth or no children will be of any benefit except the one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. بِقَلْبٍ salim. To have a heart that is salim is a life struggle. Even on my deathbed, after worshipping Allah all my life, witnessed by everyone, on my deathbed could be the biggest trial for me. They say Sakratul Maut is the biggest, it's almost Qiyamah on earth. The day of judgment. Sakratul Maut is a very difficult time. And Sakratul Maut is not easy if I have lived a life full of everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sakratul Maut is a very difficult time. It will come to all of us. Some people, some of our elders we see, they go in peace, alhamdulillah, because maybe their connection with Allah has been consistent, regular, all their life. And Allah has blessed them at the end. Sakratul Maut is a very difficult time. And don't think that at the time of death, we are easily going to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a very difficult time. The heart that has not been trained in being constant with La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah cannot just respond at that last moment in that way. It's not possible. That heart needs to develop. So when we're talking about physical heart surgery, we need to look at the real heart surgery. And that surgery has to happen here on earth. Because Allah is the one who will open it and show you and me on that day what that heart was, what my heart was like, what your heart was like. Now we will talk about 3 qualities of that heart. Because we said that food and water is for our stomach. But the heart also needs something as well. The heart needs some kind of food as well. The spiritual food. Now there are 3 types of hearts that in the subject of purification, some of our great scholars have put together so that we can understand. One of them is a healthy heart. Another one is a dead heart. And the other one is a sick heart. Now, when we talk about these, I will say that my one is the last one, the sick one. And I cannot claim for you what your heart is like. Sometimes we are very quick to tell about how bad other people's hearts are. To be honest with you, if I'm concerned about my heart, I will not be bothered about anybody else's heart. Okay? Because my one and my accountability with Allah is more important to me than someone else. It's easy to say he's got a bad heart or she's got a bad heart. You know, when we point fingers, one of them is pointing at me, saying, look at yourself. Stop looking at other people. Stop looking at other people. Look at yourself. So the first, the healthy heart. How healthy is mine and yours? Let's understand a little bit of this, inshallah, to benefit each other. On the day of resurrection, only those who come to Allah with a healthy heart will be saved. As Allah said in Surah Ash-Shu'ara, the day on which neither wealth nor sons will be of any use except whoever brings to Allah a sound heart. On the day of Qiyamah, your children, my children, your wealth, my wealth will be of no benefit. In fact, it could be adab. Depends on how I earn my wealth. Depends on how my children work. It could be the opposite. None of that will benefit except a sound heart. And that sound heart requires heart surgery whilst we live on earth. If we're 15, if we're 20, if we're 50, if we're 70, we all require heart surgery. Especially the heart surgery that we're talking about in relation to the purification of the soul. In defining the healthy heart, the following has been said. It is a heart cleansed from any passion that challenges what Allah commands or disputes what He forbids. It is free from any impulses which contradict His good. As a result, it is safeguarded against the worship of anything other than Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeks the judgment of no other except that of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now when we look at our hearts, how free is Yahya's heart from passions, from desires? Does my heart desire which Allah has commanded in His book? Or does my heart desire the things that Allah tells you to stay away from? And we live in a world where the heart is being fed everything to the eyes, to the ears, through every channel to get into this place with everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you talk about the television, and I begin with myself, when you talk about walking on the streets, when you talk about reading a newspaper or magazine, there's constantly food being fed to go into the heart that is not for the heart. And we are all victims of that reality of different age groups. The desires and the passions. And these are all connected to the dunya. And the dunya is not a problem because we gain the dunya where? We gain the akhirah where? In dunya or in akhirah? We have to gain the akhirah in the dunya. The dunya is the place where we have to work for the akhirah. There is no work in the akhirah. There is results. The work has to be here in the dunya. So we cannot wait for another life where we can work. The other life is where we gain the prize. You know, they say that Allah will give jaza. He will give two types of jaza. To me and to you. Two types, and to human beings as a whole. And He will give jaza. Jaza in itself means reward. When you look at reward, the general spirit of reward is what? Positive, right? Allah doesn't, this is not the way Allah measures jaza. Reward can be through pleasure and it can be through anger. So Jannah is the reward for gaining the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Jahannam is the reward for gaining the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are both rewards. You know, when we say Jazakallah, and we say may Allah reward you, the better etiquette is what? Jazakumullahu khairan. That may Allah reward you with something good. Because Allah will reward you. We want reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the real reward is with khair. Because reward will happen. Allah may give you some reward in the dunya, but Allah is definitely giving us reward in the akhirah. with one of those two rewards, Jannah or Jahannam. And I remind myself in you, Jannah, Jannah is not earned by our deeds. If Allah was to weigh my deed and your deed for the last 25, 50 years of our life, it might not even be worth half a sand grain because of the lack of ikhlas, because of his deficiencies for so many reasons. But Jannah will be gained through the mercy of the most merciful subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He is Al-Ghaffar Al-Ghafur subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, it is a heart cleansed from any passion that challenges what Allah commands. Does my heart like to pull itself away from the things that Allah tells me to do? If that's what happens to me, Yahya, then there's a problem with my heart. It means my heart requires heart surgery. And I can't get a surgeon to do it from Harley Street. I have to do it myself. I may have some good murabbis who do heart surgery very regularly with their life experiences, to talk to our murabbis, say, I'm having this kind of difficulty when I pray. How did you overcome it? Can you give us some advice? Our murabbi can be a good heart surgeon. When they talk about purification of the soul, you're always advised to have a teacher to help you on your way, on your journey. Not be a blind student, but to be an enlightened student. The word murabbi. When we say murabbi, brothers, it's very important for me and for you. When we say someone is murabbi, if you look at the word murabbi, the word Rab is in there, yes or no? When you look at the word murabbi, we take it for granted very easily. You say, this is our murabbi. Can you see the word Rab in there? Rab is also connected to the word called tarbiyah. Tarbiyah, taraba, if you like. And tarbiyah is what? To educate, to nurture. What are you educating and what are you nurturing about? To make someone Rabbi, someone godly. So when we talk about the murabbi, the ideal murabbi, my dear brothers and sisters, if there's any sisters of course, is the murabbi that takes, helps us on the path to God subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he, or even she, because my grandmother could be a very good murabbi, because of her dhikr, her istighfar and all of those, her regular relationship with Allah. One of her advice could be more valuable to me than the last 50 years of my life, because she's experienced many great things in her life. So the job of a murabbi is not just to be an old person. Okay? The job of a murabbi is much bigger than that. And in general, all of our murabbis, there is not a single person that you call murabbi where you don't get some positive advice. Yes or no? They could vary in terms of the level, but generally when we say someone is our murabbi, let's go to our murabbi. We are hoping for something good, something positive from our murabbi. So the job of a murabbi is to make me and you godly, to give tarbiyah to us, to make us rabbani. That's why the word Rabb is there, to make someone godly. And this is our role, our elders, our fathers, when they're teaching their children and their grandchildren, this is what it's about. Is my heart pulling me towards Allah and His commands, or is pulling me and pushing me away? And you know yourself better than I know, and I know myself better than you know me, and Allah knows all of us and all of our conditions. And so, on a baseline, if my heart is not comfortable with following the commands of Allah, as in the things that Allah has made halal, and is not happy with staying away from the things that Allah has made haram. A lot of us have a problem with the subject of haram. Because quite often we think, oh, Allah has made so much haram. Everything is haram, we can't do anything. Our youngsters are, frustrated so quickly. Why is everything haram? The reality is, if you study the Quran, there are very few things that are haram. Wallahi. If Allah hasn't mentioned something haram in general, the rule in usul al-fiqh is that it's halal. If it's not mentioned to be haram, then the general understanding is it's lawful. Okay? That's the general attitude, just a general pattern and spirit in the way Islam teaches us. So there are more halal in the Quran than harams. There are only very few harams. And those harams, if I and you can stay away from, it's for my and your benefit in the dunya, and most importantly in the akhirah. And if you and I are interested in the akhirah, then that heart has to be trained in submitting to the things that the mighty, majestic subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us on earth. So we have to ask ourselves as we do this heart surgery check, that is my heart comfortable with the things Allah has called me towards? And is it comfortable with the things Allah has told me to stay away from? When I'm in that state, then my heart is safeguarded from worshipping anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I've trained my heart and developed it, if I regularly do heart surgery, then it will find it easy to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the most important sign of a healthy heart is when nobody else is watching Yahya. How firm is Yahya that Allah is watching him? And Allah is seeing him and Allah is hearing him. If Yahya is firm at that time, then Yahya can be firm in any other time. It's easy to remember Allah as we sit here, but the real remembrance is not here. Wherever we are, if we know that Allah is the one who hears and sees, then that's a sign of a healthy heart. That's a sign of a conscious heart. These are signs, these are glitters of taqwa. Glitters of taqwa. And we need that. I need that. All of us need that. Imagine raising a child who, through your tarbiyah, education, becomes a son or a daughter who realizes this secret. That it doesn't matter if a baba or mom's not here, but Allah is there. Allah can hear, Allah can see. You know, if we have children like that, then our investment is very sound. And it's a big challenge. It's a massive challenge. It's a challenge for me as a new father, if you like. And I'm sure those who are very established fathers, they've gone through so many different phases of challenge. But one thing, do not despair, because the more harder you struggle, the greater your reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you want it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So keep struggling with your children, with your grandchildren, with human beings in general. So the healthy heart is the one that finds it comfortable to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, easy to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it does not associate anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't associate any shirk. Okay, it is a service, its services are exclusively reserved for Allah, willingly and lovingly. So you are happy to obey Allah. You love to obey Allah. You know, sometimes people will see, oh, the commands of Allah as being a burden, very difficult. But the heart that is sound, that is healthy, is the heart that looks willingly, happily, satisfied to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the heart loves, it loves for the sake of Allah. When it hates for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, quite often, this is a big challenge for us. How often do we love things and people for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How often do we hate things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We should ask that question. When we love something and someone, how much of it is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I would say probably our parents probably get our purest love. In general, there is a natural creative connection, and our mother probably gets a bit more of that, perhaps, for most, if not for some. And maybe our wife to a point. You know, how much of our love for the things we love is purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more pure it is, the more healthier that heart is. A servant with a healthy heart must dictate it to its journeys and not base his actions and speech on those of any other person except Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So those servants with a healthy heart should be in a position where they're controlling their heart. So the heart is being guided by them rather than them being guided by the heart. And that's a very high level to develop, where the heart walks behind you rather than in front of you. You know, when we talk about desires and passions, it's walking in front of us and we're following. Whereas the one who's able to turn that around, okay, where the heart is following it, because you and I are developing and constantly working to develop a state where we are able to guide the journey of the heart towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and we do it with the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. He must not give precedence to any other faith or words or deeds over those of Allah and His Messenger. So that's a generic rule in heart surgery that we're talking about. That if you really want to treat your heart, then the Quran and what Allah has called you to is the most important instrument in that surgery. And if you want to seal a great and a complete and a successful operation, then it has to be in the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught me and you, to purify our hearts, to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The dead heart. The dead heart is the heart that is opposite to the healthy heart. It does not know its Lord and does not worship Him as He commands in the way which He likes and with which He is pleased. It clings instead to its lusts and desires, even if these are likely to incur Allah's displeasure and wrath. It worships things other than Allah, and it loves and it hates. Its loves and hatreds and its giving and its withholding arise from its whims, which are of paramount importance to it and preferred above the pleasure of Allah. Its whims are its imam. So the dead heart likes everything other than the healthy heart. The dead heart loves everything other than what the healthy heart loves. In obeying Allah, in pleasing Him, and doing everything to please Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and doing it in the way of the final messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The dead heart prefers everything other than following the commands of Allah, following its lusts and its desires. Okay? Even if these bring displeasure and the punishment of Allah, even on earth, let alone the akhirah, it likes to go towards that journey. It will withhold, not for the sake of Allah, for its desire. It will give, not for the sake of Allah, but for its desire. And its whims are its imam. You know, the role of an imam is a very important thing. The word, amam is to be in front. Okay? The role of the imam is what? The imam is always at the front, right? It's very symbolic that the imam is supposed to be someone who is leading us in salah and in our overall life and guidance. Who was the greatest imam? Who was the greatest imam, brothers and murabbis? Huh? Who is the greatest imam? Who was the greatest imam? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The greatest imam was the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot get a better imam than him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was an imam who was a heart surgeon, who was a leader, who was a husband, who was a grandfather. He had all of those roles and he led in all of them. Every one of the roles that was required by him, he was the example in all of those roles sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's a challenge for those who become imam. How far can you lead the people that are behind you? And other people behind the imam, really behind him. You understand what I'm saying? In some of the masajids, they're fighting over the committee, right? So they're praying, but they're not really behind the imam. Okay? Really, a real imam is able to have people who love him and want to be behind him. That's the real imam. The imam that is so inspiring to guide and to assist and to be of service to everyone and everything. You know, to the point where non-Muslims want to come and spend time with that imam and get some advice and guidance. Did the non-Muslims not come to the Prophet? He was an imam already, like we said before, with these two qualities of truthfulness and trustworthiness. People were willing to leave everything with that. They saw him as an imam in that role. And he played it very well, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He played it heavenly, because that's what he was sent with. So, the dead heart has its own imam. That's desires. You know, worshipping other than Allah, following whatever it wants. You know, always looking for the temporary pleasures of this world. Okay? Its crude impulses are its impetus. It is immersed in its concern with worldly objectives. It is drunk with its own fancies and its love for hasty, fleeting pleasures. It is called to Allah and the Akhirah from a distance, but it does not respond to advice, and instead it follows any scheming, cunning shaitan. Life angers and pleases it, and passion makes it deaf and blind to anything except what is evil. That is the dead heart. Even from a distance, that dead heart is being called towards guidance. But it can't hear. It has the physical ability to hear, but it cannot hear. Okay? It cannot hear. That's the dead heart. And inshallah, I don't believe any of our hearts are dead. But don't think it can't become dead. That's very important. If you are not feeding your heart the right things, then it can become dead. If your heart, and my heart in particular, is being fed haram through my eyes, through my ears, through my time, through my tongue, it can start becoming dead. To the point where when it sees haram, it doesn't think it's haram. It's closed those doors and it's satisfied with everything that comes in front of it. To associate and keep company with the owner of such a heart is to tempt illness. Living with him or her is like taking poison, and befriending him means utter destruction. We have to check our sohbah, our companionship. Who are our friends? Our young brothers and sisters and our young people, they always, when you say to them, where have you been? I've been with my friend. Yeah? But how often do we really understand what a real friend is? Because the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-mar'u ala dini khalili. Okay, man is on the religion of his friend. Now your friend could be someone who could connect you with Jannah, or he could be the one who will connect you with Jahannam. Companionship is very important. Friendship is very important. But we have to choose the right companions. We have to guide our family members, our children, our sons and our daughters and our grandchildren towards right companionship. That cannot be, he's a harami and he is halali. You cannot do it like that. It doesn't work like that. Our tarbiyah, to make our children godly, we have to work more harder. It's not black and white. Don't do and do. We're living in a time where just saying don't do and do doesn't work. We have to be more creative. And most importantly, we have to ask Allah to help us in our struggle with our children. It's not easy. It's a very difficult task. But don't forget, your job is to do your best. Even prophets could not guide their family members. Prophets could not. So who am I and who are you? But that should not stop you. That should inspire you to do whatever you can. And to leave this world, myself and you, trying the best for your son, for your daughter. I have my own struggles with my own family members. I sit here, doesn't mean everyone in my family is willing to sit here. At different levels. We have different family members, but we should be concerned for all of them. For all of them. So be careful of who you define as your friend. If your friend does not inspire you towards Allah, then you need to ask again, is that worth having? Is she useful for me? Is he useful for me? We're talking about, if your friend, when you have a good friend, that friend impacts everyone else. And look at the Prophet ﷺ, he gives an example of a good companion. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this is first and foremost, it's for me before any of you brothers. He gives the example of a good friend like the one who sells attar or perfume. Who's been to a perfume shop before? Please put your hand up. Anyone going to buy some attar, to buy some aftershave, fragrance? Forget the word attar, maybe it's confusing. Fragrance, something of nice smell. All of us have been there, yeah? When you go there, your nose pulls you there before your legs. Yes or no? Your nose pulls you before your legs. And what happens there? Your leg has no choice but to follow at that time. You go in there, you just do that and you smell good. You like it. You open the bottle up. Normally we do this one first before we do this one, yeah? So we do that, you like it. It's something pleasurable. When that happens, Allahu Akbar, it's another level. And then when you do that, something amazing. And they might have 200-300 examples. You don't have time to try every one of them. In fact, when you go to a fragrance shop, don't try too many. It confuses you. Okay, just maybe one or two, and not on the same hand, maybe the different hand. I'm not giving you beauty advice, but I'm just saying in general. Okay? But all of that interaction, from the nose to going to the shop, to smelling the perfume, to touching it, all of that environment is positive or negative. It's all positive. It's all good. When you leave that, you know what could happen is you didn't even touch the fragrance. And you come out and you still, I come and hug you and say, wow, nice smell. You say, what nice smell? I didn't even put anything on. And say, well, why does it smell? Oh, I just went to the perfume shop. You didn't even spray it on you. Because of the environment, it rubbed on you. This is the example of a good friend. The Prophet ﷺ says, sometimes a good friend doesn't have to say anything and it stops you from doing something wrong. Yes or no? Just you feel guilty that Bilal is coming, yeah. You know, it's almost your body starts shaking like, you know, this is such a nice man, such a great guy. You know, sometimes cigarette, you know, like we have this respect issue. You know, you will find that some people who still have that sense of respect, from, you know, maybe 50 years, you're seeing someone coming. You're trying to get rid of the cigarette, you're doing all of this, because you know Bilal is one of those guys who doesn't smoke. Bilal hasn't even got to you yet, but Bilal is already creating a positive impact. That means when Bilal gets to you, what kind of impact is he going to create? You know, when you find a group of friends, amongst 10 you might find one that when he says something or she says something, everybody gives ears. But Yahya could be someone who yaps, nobody bothers. But when Bilal speaks or Ahmed speaks or Sumaya speaks, everybody's ears connect to it, heart connects to it. You know, this is the example of a good friend. That the friend may not say anything and it still impacts you positively. I might have a bad habit of swearing. Jamal comes, my mouth closes straight away. My senses wake up. I shouldn't be swearing. Jamal didn't even tell me don't swear. This is the impact of a positive or a good friend. And the Prophet ﷺ gives us the example of a bad companion. It's like the blacksmith. The job of the blacksmith itself is not bad. This is not what the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us. Because their time they had to use horses as well. And blacksmith's main job is, at that time, often, was to do with the horse, was to do with making some weapons and those kind of things. But he's giving the overall environment. With the blacksmith, when you look at the blacksmith, blowing his bellows and the fire, from distance you already get some kind of negative fear concept, right? You feel scared already. You go in there, all the ash, you want to come out. You don't even touch the blacksmith and you come out. If you touch, there's something hot. It could burn you very quickly. So in general, your interaction in the blacksmith's place is all not positive. It's quite negative. You smell, you look dirty, you look dusty. You leave there, you don't come up with anything good. So that's like the example of a bad companion. That companion is a bad influence on you. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ is giving two examples of the example of a good friend and a bad friend, or a good companion and a bad companion. And myself and you, we have to check, who do we call our friend? Sometimes we call someone our friend if they lend me money. That's a good quality, but it's not the most important quality. If my friend and your friend does not remind me of Allah and His Messenger in his words and in his actions, then I have a serious heart surgery issue that I need to check. Because this person is going to impact on my heart very soon. This person is going to attract me towards haram, attract me towards disobedience, and take me to a level where I feel comfortable disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reality of a dead heart. To associate and keep company with the owner of such a heart is to tempt illness. Living with him is like taking poison, and befriending him is utter destruction. And it's difficult to find good friends. Everybody, our kids will say, oh, I was with my friend. And then over time you get to know their friend and you find that, their friend is just a friend, nothing, that friend is not necessarily having any positive impact. But you can't pick your children's friends for you. Be careful of that. That will backfire very quickly. You have to inspire them towards positive people, positive examples. And there's no better example. We have to become the friend of our children to begin with, to be honest. As a father, I have to be an example. You have to be an example. If I'm telling them about this, perfume seller and the blacksmith, and I'm always involved with the blacksmith issues, then how can I be, what am I doing? I want to send my son to maktab every evening for him to learn the Quran, for him to learn prayer. I have an issue with praying myself. We have to be an example. We think the madrasa is going to solve the problems of our akhirah. No. Madrasa is there. The Islamic school is there to add value. You are the biggest teacher. I am the biggest teacher to our children. Let's not underestimate that. So we talked about the heart that is healthy, the heart that is dead. And inshallah, I don't think any of us sitting here have dead hearts. And many of you, inshallah, and Allah knows best about each of you, have very healthy heart, inshallah. I just want to talk about myself, the sick heart. This is a heart with life in it. So it has some life. It's not completely dead. As well as illness. So it's got a bit of life, but it's got some disease. The former sustains it at one moment. So the fact that it has some life, it is keeping it going. And the latter at another. And the illness, it becomes ill, gets better, that kind of thing. And it follows whichever one of the two manages to dominate. So if the healthy part pushes it more, then it tries to go that way. But if the unhealthy part pushes it and pulls it more, it goes the other way. It's got those two behavioral patterns, if you like. It has love for Allah, faith in Him, sincerity towards Him, and reliance upon Him, and these are what gives it life. So in general, the sick heart does believe in Allah. We're talking about the heart of a believer here, by the way. Does believe in Allah, okay? Is sincere to Allah in general, does rely on Allah, and these are the things that gives that heart a bit of that life. At the same time, because it's sick, it also craves for lust and pleasure, and prefers them and strives to experience them. So at the same time, it's got those qualities. I want to eat more. I want to sleep more. I want to have more money. I want to fulfill my physical desires more. It has all of those things also pulling it. It also has a craving for lust and pleasure, and prefers them and strives to experience them. It is full of self-admiration. It sees itself as someone great and someone important and someone, very special, which can lead to its own destruction. Look at Fir'aun. Look at Fir'aun. Where does Fir'aun go to? He has everything of the world. But he forgets where it comes from. To the point, he goes, Ana Rabbukumul A'la. I am the highest Lord, as in I am God. That's the level Fir'aun went.